Into the goal square. Williams, step shot, goal!
Greg Williams has been magnificent again. Oh, good mark, but look at Williams.
Williams, again on his own.
He's going to get the goal anyway. Greg Williams has got it for the Blues.
Welcome, Diesel.
Mike, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. And you mightn't have always believed this, but you've been one of my all-time favourites. It's a pleasure to have you with us and to sort of take you back through memory lane.
Yeah, no, it'd be good to do that and see what we can come up with.
How can a bloke of 175 centimetres who can't run and can't jump be so good?
Yeah, well, that was a big problem early days, Mick. The recruiters thought that, and Carlton did as well. Obviously, they gave me the arse a couple of times, and I just had to fight back from there.
So 1983, you went to the Carlton. Was that the first time?
I actually played when I was 17. I played a seconds game for Carlton, and I kicked 4 points that day on the half-forward flank and had 25 possessions. I actually remember it. I don't remember a lot well, but I remember that well, and I just think if I had to kick 4 goals, then maybe I would have stayed there, you know.
So what was the verdict? Did they come to you and say that they didn't think you were up to it?
No, not so much. They were happy with what I did that day. I was only a young bloke, but I went back to Bendigo and did a pre-season with the Carlton group up there, and that's where it started with Carlton.
Now let's fast track to the end of it. We review the career. 250 games,
Yep.
2 Brownlows, 2 best and fairest, a Norm Smith medal, and 6 All-Australian jumpers. I mean,
Yep.
it's staggering return, isn't it, for someone who sort of took a while to get into the system?
Yeah, it was. No, exactly. And, that's the great thing, I think, about my story, really. That, I didn't give up. I fought hard and trained hard, and, I ended up writing a letter to Tom Hafey at the 83 pre-season. And, he said, come down and train, which, gave me the opportunity to train with him. And, I was lucky enough to get really fit. And I got, obviously, first game for Geelong in 84.
So when Carlton said no, you went back to Golden Square and played. And was your self-belief as strong as it had been before that? Or?
Oh, look, I had doubts. Don't worry. That's where, the old man really was the biggest supporter, and Mum, of course. But Dad said you're as good as them all the time. He always, was such a huge rap for me, and I had so much confidence in my ability, and I went home crying a couple of times from Carlton. Don't worry. Oh yeah. No, I was very upset, but even saying that, Carlton, they had their mosquito fleet in those days and playing in premierships. They weren't really looking for a small, slow bloke,
So, what did you think? Did you actually think that the chance had gone, or you obviously were renewed when you decided to sit down and pen a letter to Tommy Hafey? Who put you up to that?
Yeah, well, I was playing with Golden Square, and Tony Southgate was coach, who played with Carlton.
Yep.
Was a great player. Ron Best was playing as well. Bestie, who is a good friend of mine as well, and he helped me write the letter to Geelong, and he was a bit the same. Keep going, have another go. So that's what I did.
So why did you pick Geelong?
Good question. I think, we just hoped that Tommy had liked the idea, and he was straight back to us and said, come down and do pre-season. So
What did you say? Was it a plea to Tommy, or how did you couch the?
Oh, look, it was just an ask. We didn't want any promises or anything. We just asked to do pre-season. And there was a lot of country kids who tried that. And most senior clubs would have 4 or 5 or so country kids who come down and do pre-season.
Let's stay with Golden Square for a minute. You played with your brother John. He used to ride shotgun for you.
That's right. Yes.
He's pretty rugged, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, John, obviously 15 months older than me. Bigger man than me. He was 6'2", and I think there's a lot of trainers say the biggest legs they've ever rubbed, That's how, he's a real big man. And he was tough. John was the toughest person I've ever played with or seen, really. There's no doubt about it.
So he would have had a fair bit of confidence, wouldn't you, knowing that your brother was sort of in the vicinity?
I did. I had a dream run through school. I went to Kangaroo Flat Tech, and John was the best fighter in the school when I got there. So John's in Form 2 and he's the best fighter at the school, and I went Form 1, so I had a dream run.
What about your father? Was a Bendigo identity, Lee. He was pretty keen dishing out some advice to you, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, no, Dad was an expert on football and sport. He's a good sportsman in his own right. He's a fantastic squash player, played for Victoria. And he had every game, I'd talk to him after every game, and he'd always tell me if I was hanging out and not going in hard enough. Or,
Did that ever occur? I mean, was there a situation? Yeah,
all the time.
all the time.
Oh well, if he wasn't happy with the way I was going, he'd certainly tell me, and it was pretty simple. You know, the game and the way I played it, and you know, when I did have a bad game, it pretty much summed it up, saying that you're not going in hard enough, and that's what pretty much was the difference between a good game and a bad game.
Any golden pieces of advice from him?
Oh look, there's a lot of advice. Well, even early days, you know, when I was getting a lot of attention, you know, from taggers and opposition, of course, you know, from every angle, you know, everyone trying to stop me getting the ball, really. And you know, I put up with a lot, and Dad always said that make sure that you don't let them keep getting away with too much, or they'll keep doing it. So, you know, I didn't let blokes hang on and that sort of stuff, of course, as much.
So did you whack him then?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, I sent that message early days, and I think it stood me in pretty good stead. There was obviously a couple of games, and probably more than a couple, where I got into a bit of trouble. But no, I think most people knew that if they did hang on or do things against the rules, well, I wouldn't put up with it, you know.
Your first game at Geelong, you're playing Fitzroy. Fitzroy has come off a final series.
Yep.
The Geelong centre line in that first game in 1984,
Yep.
red. Michael Turner on a wing.
That's right.
This slow bloke from Bendigo in the middle called Greg Williams. A chap called G. Ablett on the other side.
Yep.
Fitzroy boys were in for a surprise, weren't they?
No, they really were. I think Jacko was full forward.
That's right, yeah.
And no, that was, I often say that's the best day of my life, that day. It was that hard to get there. Like it took me years to get there, and you know, I was really fit. Tommy, you know, trained me like no one else, and I was really fit and I was ready. I'd had 3 years of training to get to that game, and you know, I really made the most of it when I got there. Yeah.
Do you remember your numbers that day?
My possessions?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What'd you have?
38 possessions I had.
38, did you? You're thick.
No, I know I did. No, I remember it well.
I was selected to play in the centre that day, first round of the year. And I just recall having lunch with my father on the Friday, and he asked me who I was playing on. And at that point I said to him, I recall saying to him, I'm not quite sure, but it's some guy that wasn't good enough and that Carlton didn't take on a couple of years in a row. And so of course we went down to Cardinia Park thinking that we were going to blow the Cats away, and history suggests that didn't happen. And I think Williams, I played on Diesel, and Diesel had 30 plus, maybe 35 plus, kicked a goal, and then of course he got 3 votes in the Brownlow medal, and in his first game, and unfortunately I was it was a bit career limiting for me at that point, but I was the player that played on him, and on the Sunday my father rang me and said, after he read the papers, and he said, "Do you know who that player is now?"
What about the handball? You came into league football handballing like we grew to acknowledge and sort of have so much respect for later on in your career. What made you so keen on using handball as a weapon?
Speed was obviously an issue, and you know, my strength obviously was getting the ball. And yeah, handball was just part of my game on the juniors and all the way through, and obviously it didn't change. You know, I relied on my teammates so much as well, like more than most players, you know. But I helped them, of course, as well, and they helped me. And you know, a lot of them. I remember even the first practice game I played for Geelong, where Mick Turner was captain, and I told Mick first. I reckon it was the first boundary throwing. Mick, just stand over there. You know, I want you to stand there. So I'm telling the captain what to do in the first game, and I got it, of course, Mick. And handball, and he wasn't there. And I blew up at him and said, "Just stand there." I really always liked to know what I was going to do with it before I got it. You know, and it was always handy to have, you know, you knew a bloke was going to be there or there. You know, I always had a couple of blokes set up to make sure they're there when I got it. So.
But you admitted it yourself, that's pretty cheeky, isn't it, for a bloke who finally gets his chance at an AFL club, he's playing his first game and he's telling the captain where to stand?
No, it is a bit cheeky. But Mick's stand there every time since. Don't worry, he loved it, and he was really good at it. He just got in a good position all the time.
The pace you talked about before, about not being over-endowed with it, you wore calipers as a kid. Was there a relationship between
Oh, look, I'm not sure about that. I'm really not. All our kids are slow. So I don't think it was the calipers. John was slow. My bigger brother's 6'4". Sorry, my younger brother's 6'4", and he's nearly the slowest person I've ever seen. And
so what were your calipers for?
Well, my legs were crooked. yeah, going outwards, and that's what they did in those days.
Okay. Not long at Geelong. We'll talk about the reasons for that shortly. But in your second year, 1985, you played in the infamous Geelong-Hawthorn game at Princes Park.
I did,
The
yeah.
day made famous by the Lee Matthews-Neville Bruns incident. What are your memories of that?
Oh, it was a pretty electric day that day. It was bad finish, very bad finish. But yeah, it was a tough game. I remember Jacko was being Jacko, and I think I ran through Michael Tucker myself early in the game.
You think you did? You know you did.
No, I didn't.
You heard him, didn't you?
Yeah, I shared front of him,
Yeah.
And it just grew from there early, and then obviously the Bruns incident, and I even looked like the whole crowd was going to get involved that day. It was really a sad day, really.
Have you ever been on a football field with an atmosphere like that was that day?
No, it was dangerous sort of a atmosphere at the end. It was really like the crowd was going to come to the ground, you know. But sometimes, and unfortunately, those sorts of things happen.
You damaged your knee in your first year at Geelong.
I did, yep.
Won the best and fairest in your second year, and then you're off to Sydney.
Yep, that's right.
That seems incomprehensible these days. Apparently it was over $5,000, is that right?
Yeah, at the end, that's a true story about I wanted half of what Sydney offered me.
So what did Sydney offer you?
It was 100,000. There's a few benefits as well, and incentives and stuff like that, but it was a lot of money back then. It really was, and I said to Geelong, pay half and I'll stay, and they offered me 45, and that was it.
Up 45 up from what? Do you remember?
Oh, that was pretty it. Well, 45. You know,
Yeah,
I
but
don't think
what were you playing on initially at Geelong?
Oh, I was about 30 or so.
Yeah.
Which I was on a pretty good wicket first year or so.
Yeah.
For a new bloke.
Yeah, so they went to 45,
Yep.
and then who blocked it, do you know?
I think I know.
You think you know?
I do know.
Or his
I think it
initials
was Bill.
Billy Goggin?
Yeah, I think it was Bill. Yep.
For any good reason? I mean,
No, I'm not sure. But I think there was like the Sleepy Hollow sort of thing where they thought, Greg won't go. Like, he loves Ocean Grove and loves Geelong, and he mucked it up.
you could have played at Geelong. They played in 4 grand finals during your playing career. You could have spent your entire career with Gary Ablett Senior.
Yeah.
Any regrets?
Yeah, like it would be great to have stayed there and played, and who knows what would have happened. I'm not sure what, but I decided to go. I was a professional footballer. I had that, that was my chance to make money as well, and I took the chance, and I went to Sydney, and that was the decision I made.
Now, you went to Sydney with several big names. Who targeted you? I mean, Jeffrey Edelson was the man that was seen to be trying to amass these big names and create a football team there, but who was doing the recruiting?
Yeah, I think I know who it was. Tom Havey was the main.
Okay.
Tom's
So
coach.
Tommy had coached you at Geelong.
Yeah, of course.
Knew
He
how
went
well
the
you
same
played.
year.
Yeah.
We all went at the same time.
Okay,
So Tommy
okay.
was the one who said, get in.
After the break, Diesel talks about the taggers he loved to whack and the day he was deregistered and fined $25,000 by the AFL for contract irregularities.
Into the goal square. Williams, snapshot, goal!
Williams straightens up and goes towards goal. Bond couldn't mark, but look at Williams.
Williams, again on his own.
I remember you saying, I was at a function once when you were talking about the way you planned your career. I mean, your preparation was faultless, and when you ran out on the ground every week, you had a target, did you not?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, I had a game plan, definitely.
Which was?
It was to get 40 positions every game. That was it was pretty basic, but
And broke them down to 10 a quarter?
yeah, definitely. No, 10, that's all I did. I just, possessions. That was my focus, and I trained to do that. And I'd go in at half-time every game. And it got to the stage where the bloke could tell me what I had at half-time. I always wanted to know what I had at half-time.
Yeah.
I never counted my stats like some blokes did because I was concentrating on other things. But I did. I 10 every quarter. If I was 15 at half-time, I had to get 25 in the second half to get 40. And that was my focus, and that's what I focused on, and it worked for me.
You top 50 once, is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, for the Swans, I got up to 53 or so. So that was
53
great.
or so.
Yeah.
Amazing number of... Who was that against?
That was St Kilda at my favourite ground, the SCG. Yep. And I kicked 6 as well, Mike.
Now, you went to war with several players over your career, didn't you? Lots of them, actually. A couple of famous ones, a couple of names that spring to mind, Sean Denham and Tony Shaw.
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't like taggers, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't like people trying to stop me doing what I did. but that was their job, but I just didn't like it, and I made it as hard for them as they made it hard for me.
You were happy to administer your own form of justice? I mean, if they hung on, they copped one. Is that right?
Yeah, they did, and also, you know, I got whacked a few times as well, you know, so if I got hit, I most often retaliated. Maybe not straight away, but maybe a year later or 2 years later.
Wasn't that one of your dad's pieces of advice? Always get square?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Tell me about Shorey. Carlton and Collingwood were always massive games, obviously, because they're such powerful clubs. He went to you most times. I'm suspecting he probably played on you 10 or a dozen times, did he?
Yeah, maybe not that many, but he's a similar sort of a player, you know, same size and about the same pace as me. We're a good matchup. So, yeah, no, sure, you know, I really respected that guy, and we played on each other a lot.
You respected him not enough to stop smacking him right in the nose one day.
Yeah, no, I did. I split his nose really badly one day, but that was a bit of a retaliation from when he got reported for it was probably a year or two before that. And like I said, I had a long memory, and his nose presented itself, and I hit it. You know, I didn't even go out there trying to do it or meaning to do it. It just happened like that. You know, so I'm sorry, Shorey.
So sometimes there are blokes who play on each other regularly,
Yeah.
and they almost call an unofficial truce.
Yep.
Did that happen with you and
Actually,
Shorey?
yeah, it did. No, it did. I think it was a week after, the year after I, you know, I broke his nose badly. So, and Shorey came up to me before the game and said, "Look, no fighting today. Let's just play footy." And actually, it was a good thing what he did. Actually, it needed to be done, and it was good that he said it, because I would never have said it.
No.
And you know, we just played from then on, and you know, we had some good duels.
Oh, look, Greg Williams is probably the greatest player that I've ever played against. You know, not super quick, didn't have a big jump, probably like myself, but his peripheral vision, his foot and hand skills were as good as I've ever seen, and his knowledge of how to play the game. He was also tough, you know, wouldn't give any quarter, and gave a few out, don't worry about that. But yeah, look, I just look on it as one of the greatest challenges I've had. I had a fairly good record on him at times, so I'm pretty proud about that. But yeah, as I said, probably the greatest player I've played against.
I saw you, I think I saw it, one day at the MCG, Sean Denham, who I really reckon got under your skin, and you smacked him in a final probably about 50 or 80 metres off the ball. Is that a fair account of what happened?
Yeah, that was in the grand final.
In the grand final?
Yeah, 93 grand final, and yeah, no, I remember that, and that, you know, that wasn't ideal by what I did either, really. You know,
You didn't like him, did you?
No, I didn't, but he got 5 weeks, hit me before, the same day. In the first quarter, he belted me on a boundary throw in. You know, he tried to, you know, belt me well. So, like I said, I can't remember planning it, but anyway, he was right next to me and I belted him back, and there he went off. I broke his nose. So, but he had the last laugh. Unfortunately, the Bombers beat us.
Yeah. Did you ever warn these blokes that, or I suppose they knew, Denham and Shaw knew what was in store, didn't they?
Yeah, look, Denham was a little bloke like me, and you know, he's a determined little bloke, and you know, he did a good job a few times, and you know, I reckon I beat him a few times. So
when you've had that sort of history, can you be friendly? I mean, post your football career, can you actually have a friendship with blokes like that?
I think you can. I'm not best friends with Shorey or Denham, but you know, I've seen Shorey, and look, I've got a problem talking to Shorey. I don't hold any grudges. Sometimes those players do, but I really don't. I've seen Denham before and said hello, and like, I really don't hold grudges what happened on the ground.
Which regular opponent gave you the most grief?
Oh, like there was a lot of, like Shane Herdwood from Essendon was tough. You know, Lamb from West Coast, that big. He's a big, strong man. You know, a bit bigger than me and strong. Like, they're hard to get around. You know, they really are.
Did Hawthorn put Buckenara in the middle when,
he did.
when they played the Swans to exploit you in the air? Did that work?
I think it worked all right. Yeah, he played really well.
Yeah.
We played terrible. I played terrible. Yeah, so it worked. But yeah, the whole team struggled that day. But no, they did it. Buckenara killed him out of the middle. He did. He was a serious player.
You didn't actually care much about your opponents, though, did you? I mean, I'm not talking about the blokes who hung on to you, but if you were pitted against someone, you did your thing and they did theirs. You backed yourself against them, correct?
I did. No, I really did. I just had the pretty simple game plan. Just get all stoppages and, you know, try and wear out the bloke I'm on, which, you you know, if they ran into a forward line to think they're going to get it, I'd run out the other side and make them chase me and try and get away from them, you know.
So you didn't go quickly,
No,
but you went at a solid pace for 2 hours, right?
That's right. Now, look, like I said, if I'm going him and I are running the forward line, and he keeps going the forward line, and I run out to the half-back flank or something, and I just think that our back line's going to get it, which had happened a lot, and Silvani or Sexton or those guys would kick to me, I'd be free, and you know, guys like Shorey or whoever had to make up that 100 metres to catch me all the time, and you know, that happened 20, 30 times a game. Well, they get tired. Where I'm still running half pace, you know.
You play with lots of big names at the clubs you're at. Probably the biggest of all, Gary Ablett Senior.
Yeah.
You had 2 years with him.
I did.
Where does he sit amongst the blokes in terms of pure talent?
Gary's the best player I've ever played with. I always say that. I was in awe of his ability, and he just had the best highlights tape of any player I've ever seen, and the things he did. You know, like only little things, but I remember if he takes a normal mark, he's like 3 foot above everyone else. You know, like he just had that. He was extra 2 foot off the ground all the time than anyone could jump. You know, he was always. I remember running beside him at training, and he's just like a powerhouse. He was just like, you know, he's gingerly hitting himself in the mouth. You know, he just had so much strength and power, and you know, he was a skillful champion player. He was.
You wouldn't have known much about him when you got to Geelong. I mean, he played half a dozen games at Hawthorn.
That's right.
And it would have been in his athletic prime then. He was probably, I think, 21 or 22.
Yeah, he was.
And he could do anything, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could do anything. He didn't train much either. Tommy handled him well. He just had that good rapport with him, because he was a bit different bloke, Gary. There's no doubt. But he's a nice guy. He's just a bit of a loner type of guy. But he didn't train too much. I remember he played. He came. I reckon it was '85 pre-season. We had a training camp at Anglesey, and he hadn't been training before Christmas. You know, he'd been pig shooting or whatever he does. You know, and he came down there, and the first session we did a 100-metre sprint, 200. He won both of those. He didn't go in the 400 or 800 because that was too hard for him. He kicked left foot 60 metres, right foot 65-metre drop punt. Tommy had this massive medicine ball, like real big thing, and I remember Darren Flanagan threw it about a metre further than anyone, all the team, and then Gary threw it 4 metres further than him.
Really?
You know, he just picked it up and just a powerhouse.
I know they're different players, G. Ablett Senior and G. Ablett Junior.
Yeah.
But I think it's valid to compare them in terms of over their career. Highlights package, clearly Gary Senior.
Yeah.
But the young bloke is not far off him in terms of his output.
Yeah, no, Gary Junior's a serious player, right up there, and the best player in the league now, you know. And
is he best player in the league now?
Oh, well, he's in there with Judd and those guys, you know, there's no doubt. He's a superstar, and you know, you got to hand it to him. You know, it's not easy for young blokes to have a father like he had and be in the limelight and to come through and to be good as a young junior. You know, I reckon it's a great effort, it really is.
You played just over 100 games at both Sydney and Carlton.
Yeah.
Any difference between your output at either?
Look, it's hard. You know, I played some really good footy at both clubs, you know, but, you know, I love the SCG as well. You know, I really love that, the Swans days there, and I love that ground. It just suited me down to the ground, and, you know, you're never far out of the action. You know, you could always make up some ground to get back in the play all the time, and that really suited me as well.
Your mate from Sydney, your teammate and mate, Gerard Healy, my mate on the couch, he was a serious player, wasn't he? I mean, you were at your peak in Sydney, playing in the centre and alongside Gerard, and Gerard won 3 best and fairest, and you were runner-up 3 times in a row.
Yep. Thanks for bringing that up. No, Gerard was a star, there's no doubt, and we had a great rapport on the ground, and he knew what I did and I knew what he did, and we had a great relationship, you know. They call us the Cracker Brothers sometimes, that's all.
The Cracker Brothers.
That's the sort of relationship we had on the field, I mean.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. Gerard was a super player, there's no doubt. Skillful, kick goals, run like just as well as anyone could run.
I remember when I was working at the AFL in the 80s, you came into my office and you were in a tiz. You needed to find Kappa. The talk was that he was going to go to Brisbane. And I had this feeling that you thought things were falling apart in Sydney and you needed to get Kappa and try to talk him into staying.
Yeah, it was. I don't think it was a good move for Warwick going there. It was a terrible move. He was that sort of guy that fitted well with us in our team, but a new team, Warwick didn't suit, and it proved right as well.
When you left Sydney, did you think that the club was going to go down? I don't mean down the ladder, I mean just go down and out.
Look, I think I wanted to come back to Melbourne when I did, to Carlton, and I was lucky enough that I got back to Carlton. But the AFL had given up on us up there. I really did feel it, and it was true. They just gave up on the club, and there was no direction whatsoever. And it got to the stage I didn't really want to spend the next 5 or 6 years just up there on our own again. Like, it was just, there was no direction, the club was in serious trouble.
So did you think that it was just too difficult from the people down here? Just sort of said, look, it's just a problem we're never going to solve, let's just let it
Well, that's what it felt like to us up there.
Yeah.
It felt like it to me. We're just getting no feedback of what they're going to do to help us, and and I just decided to leave, and that was one of the main reasons. If they had supported us and maybe give us, like, I remember trying to get the Swans to get the New South Wales zone for a start. I tried with Ricky Quaid, just to try to get some sort of zone that we could, to get some players. But the AFL weren't interested, and it just felt like they didn't care, and I left.
Where was the interest from? Who sparked the interest from Carlton?
Oh, well, Peter Jess was my manager then, and this was probably 3 months out from the year. That's how bad we were going. I think we finished last that year. We were just in rock bottom, and Jesse said Colo was very keen to get us back, and we did a deal. But it was hard to get back. It really was. The AFL didn't want me to go, of course. I had to go to court.
They rubbed you out, didn't they?
Yeah, I got deregistered for 6 weeks by the AFL, which was great. Got fined 25 grand.
But that was over contracts that didn't match up with it.
Yeah, but it was just a whack over the knuckles, I reckon.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because you were abandoning the ship.
Yeah, they didn't want me to go, and technically they were probably right.
But there were 2 contracts.
Yeah, but everyone had 2 contracts,
Did they?
Yeah, a lot of people did.
A lot, or everyone?
No, a lot.
Yeah.
That's nearly everyone.
You love playing in the middle. I know. I mean, you saw that as your domain. How did you feel in 1995 when the edict came that you were going to go to a forward pocket?
Well, I didn't feel very good about it. I didn't. But it just worked out like that. Parkin talks a lot, but he didn't talk much about that.
Didn't he?
No.
To you?
No, he didn't. He might say he did, but I can't remember it. And it just worked out that I was going to play forward and ended up playing up there.
So when did you learn that? Match day or during the week, or when?
Oh, look, I can't really remember exactly, Mick. I can't. But it worked out that I went up there more, and I liked it up there, so I stayed.
Well, you kicked 5 goals in that premiership win, but
Yeah, I did.
early on it didn't look like that you were going to be making the most of the chances.
No, that's true. No, I didn't go out there looking at kicking goals either. I just went out there with the same plan I always had, which was to play in the centre. But I did move forward, but I struggled early. People get the perception that AFL players don't get nervous, or they just look like they're calm and cool and collected. But I remember that, like I said, the first kick I got a kick about 55 out and had a shot for goal on the left foot and kicked it out of bounds, and it ran out of bounds just near the point post. It was a shocking kick because I was just that nervous. And I remember saying to myself, just pull yourself together, like get it going. So after that, I was fine after that.
Were they normal nerves, or were you frustrated because you'd been pushed out?
No, it was nothing to do with going forward.
No.
It was just the actual nerves of the day and the big occasion. It was.
Fact or fiction? A runner comes out to you in a final at Waverley and says, Diesel, go to half forward. Fraser Brown's going in the middle. And you said, I play in the centre here.
Look, I can't honestly remember.
You're fibbing, Diesel.
I can't honestly remember that. I can't. And that's not to say it didn't happen. But
You think it may have?
I know the runner went out to Bruce Stool one day. And Bruce said, the runner doesn't come out to me. That's a true story.
Versus Geelong in a final, which we were being flogged in, having Geelong lost their best 4 probably midfielders pre-game. And halfway through the third quarter, it was looking very ordinary. So I sent the message out to Greg, go forward and kick us a goal. which he was capable of doing, and in fact did. Immediately, of course, put himself back in the middle where Fraser Brown thought he was playing and should have been playing, and quite a vigorous argument started between the two of them. Siren rang, I'm out at three-quarter time, breaking up a physical episode between the two players on the basis that Fraser Brown thought he should be in the middle, and so did Greg Williams. Probably one of the worst moments in my coaching career.
When we return, Williams talks about that day he failed to poll a Brownlow vote and names the player he believes could win 4 or even more Brownlows.
Straight up the centre. Williams! Well, he had his back to that ball, but you kick a goal here, Greg. Sure, he's a good player. Hits Gleeson on the chest.
Don't take this the wrong way, but the way you played your footy, you're talking about the 40 possessions per game and doing the things on your terms, playing where you want to play. Yeah. Were you selfish?
I think I was committed, and I went about a different way. I was focused, you know, but whether you call that selfish or not, like I did go out there to get 40. Well, you could probably say that's greedy, but that's the standard I set. I don't know what else to say. I think I actually went out there. I didn't go around telling everybody this either. This is, you know, I haven't told many people that was my game plan. I just went out there. I went out there every game to be best on ground. Like that was my mentality. That I wanted to make sure on Monday that I was the best on the ground. That's what I wanted to do every Monday. To read that. That was like the commitment I had to it, and I was pissed off if I wasn't. You know, and I just build myself up for the next week if I wasn't, and try and get back into the best player on the ground again. That's what I did for 14 years.
Did you ever get stitched? You know, like just had a shocker. The bloke on you played well, you couldn't find it, it just didn't work. Did you ever have a really bad day?
Yeah, I think you said about the Buckenara day. That was probably one of those days. You know, it was shocking, and they were on fire, the Hawks, and the whole team struggled. But you know, it's just really disappointing when those sort of days. No, but they've happened, but. Not that often, which was good.
Any on-field incidents that you regret? There's been lots of them, I know, but are there any that you sort of that sit uncomfortably with you now?
Yeah, I'd like to take them all out.
No, you wouldn't.
No, look, most of them.
Really?
Yeah, no, I would.
I think you thought that you were justified in saying the Tony Shaw case and the Denham case. I
honestly believe they were retaliations. I really do. And even Reese's one was a retaliation. You know, like I think that's the way it was then, and I got them back, you know, but they shouldn't hit me first. So, and I'm not saying they're all retaliated either. Some, I'm sure there's a few of them that weren't justified either, but that's the way it was then. It wasn't as, you know, it's not nowadays where there's hardly any punches thrown. There was punches thrown those days, and you just have to protect yourself and try and get through. You know, I really come through a whole career of a lot of players trying to get me from off the square. Every centre bounce, I had players trying to line me up. I had a tagger on me. You know, like it's not an easy situation for a star player, which I was at that stage. Like, you know, you might think that's arrogant or selfish or I don't know, but that's the way it was. You know, and I had to put up with it every week, and you know, sometimes I got frustrated and retaliated.
I know there's one incident you regret. There was a photo in the Herald, I think, at the time, of you chesting a bloke called Tony Lockett.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we actually saw a few photos earlier on the highlight tape, and I said that was a mistake. That's a definite mistake going anywhere near Plugger.
Now, the black spot clearly was the incident involving umpire Andrew Coates, wasn't it? You got 9 weeks for that?
Yeah, I did.
How does that sit with you?
No, I wasn't very happy with the 9 weeks, I can tell you.
No.
I didn't think it was justified. It wasn't a deliberate action. It was like, I reckon I was crucified for, you know, blokes now run over umpires and push them over. And
well, not quite, do they?
Well, they run into them.
Yeah, but they don't run over them and push them over.
No, but they run into them and they knock them harder than I touched them.
So, can you take us through that? I mean, you appeared to be looking somewhere else, and your hand touched.
Yeah, well, that was a Denham thing again.
Was it?
Yeah. No, Sean, I think that day wouldn't shake my hand after the game, and I was a bit pissed off with him, and I was focused on him, and the umpire sort of come across my space really.
Yeah.
And you know, I just pushed him out of my space. That's all. Well, it wasn't an aggressive action or
You knew it was the umpire though.
No, I don't reckon I did.
You got the best vision of any bloke I've ever seen. You didn't know that it was the umpire in your face.
No, you're correct. I did have the best vision. No, I didn't see him.
You didn't see
And there
him.
was an eye expert at the tribunal said that you can be focused on someone and not see someone in your vision. Like,
I remember at the time, and I was pretty harsh on you in print at the time, and I wouldn't have been so harsh now. But you were bitterly disappointed with the decision, and I think the reaction of lots of people in the media too, weren't you?
yeah, I got railroaded, I reckon.
You got what?
Railroaded. I just got made a big. They made a point of making sure it doesn't happen again, which fair enough. But also, the guy that cost me that time was Neil Busy. He was away on holidays.
Yeah.
And they brought in some. I know the guy's name. I don't have to name him, but
Well, it was Shane Maguire.
yeah. And I reckon he had a shocker. You know, he first time at the tribunal, and I reckon he got it wrong.
Because he wanted to be seen to have actually sort of...
Yeah, make a statement, and
Yeah.
I just think it was a wrong. It was far too long. You know, say whatever you like.
What should, given the same circumstances again,
Yep.
what do you think the appropriate penalty would be?
Well, now it's a $900 fine.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, Brock
So if
claimed
you
it.
put your hand on an umpire now,
Well, it
that's
wasn't a hand like I said. I just brushed him aside. It wasn't a get out of the road or anything like that. It was
Yeah.
just a. Yep. No, look, I just think that the suspension was too long. You know, it's unfortunate. We actually went to court and got it stopped, if you remember, and then, or injunction, whatever you call it, and then at the end, it got back on again. So I ended up with 9 weeks for the umpires thing.
But the irony is the umpires really liked you, or they loved the way you played your footy. Only 12 blokes in history have polled more Brownlow votes than you. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that. But no, I always, in my Bendigo days when I was 17, 18, I won 2 medals up there, umpire, league medals. So no, I'd always polled well with the umpires. I actually polled better as the more umpires come in. When there was 1 umpire, and then there was 2, and then there was 3. I actually polled better when there was 3.
Should you have won 3 medals?
Look, I think I should have. Yeah, I really do.
That was the Gavin Wanganeen was the one you were beaten by a vote by Gavin Wanganeen in 1993.
Yeah.
That you should have won the medal that year.
Well, it's not so much I should have. I think there's a heap of players that haven't won 1. I'm lucky enough to win 2, and I'm very happy with 2. Like, I'm not trying to say that 3's are the be all and end all, but it was the way I lost it that disappointed me. That was all.
Tell us.
Well, the main reason about it was the day I'd had, where I'd had 44 possessions and kicked a couple of goals, and I got best in every paper. I was best on ground by every journalist in Australia, and I didn't get a vote that day. Now, why didn't I get a vote that day? Well, you could say I was unlucky, or the umpire didn't like me, and I could tell you that day I never swore at an umpire or gave an umpire an issue, because it's not easy when you're getting 44 possessions, Mike, to be talking to anyone. You're flat out. So I was really focused on that game, and I played well. I reckon I deserved to get a vote, and I got none.
Was there bad blood between you and John Russo?
Yeah, no, there definitely was. No, there was. But I reckon they were pre-games, though, the years before. I'd always, he never gave me a free kick in his life. He might argue that, but he never did. He didn't like me, and I didn't like him. That was just, and he got me back, and that's where he got me back.
So you reckon he deliberately decided to not give you a vote that day because he didn't like it?
Well, about 6 years ago at the Brownlow, the umpire came up to me and said, "Look, Greg, I want to talk to you for a minute." I said, "Okay." Anyway, it was the other umpire that day, and his name was a guy, Bird.
Yeah, that's right, Murray Bird.
Murray Bird. Yeah. He came up to me, and this is a fact, right? He said to me, "Look, I just want to apologise for that day." And I said, "Oh, yeah? What happened?" And he said that, look, I'm not exactly sure of the word, I can't remember. But anyway, the gist of it was, they sat down after the game, the 2 umpires, Russo and Murray, and Russo asked him, because Russo was a lot more senior umpire. He'd lost, he might have been 200 games at that stage, where I think Murray was about the 5th game he'd umpired. So Russo asked Murray, "Who do you think was best?" Because they're doing the 1, 2 and 3, and he said, "Oh, Greg Williams was best, no problem, easily best on ground." And then Russo said, "Nah," and he put, I actually know, he put Mill Hanna down, right? Mill had 19 possessions. And Russo asked Murray again, who do you think was best, or second best? And he said, obviously, Greg, I think Greg was best, he deserves 2 votes. And he said, no. And he put Steve Silvani. And Sauce had 12 possessions. And then this is true. I didn't tell him, obviously, Sauce had 12. I found that, I've done my homework on it. And he said, well, who do you think for 1? Because I only needed 1 vote to draw the Brownlow, you know. Anyway, Justin Madden, 1 vote. No, he said, no, I'm not voting for Greg. I'm putting Justin Madden down. And Bird, didn't argue as much as he probably should have, and because the umpires are supposed to do it together. It's not supposed to be Russo. It's not the Russo medal. It's the umpires.
I'm glad you've moved on, Diesel.
Yeah. No, look, you asked me what happened. I'm telling you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Good. So he apologised for he didn't stick up for me and he didn't give me a vote.
Do you know what the Carlton voting was for that game?
No, I don't.
Peter Dean got 3 that day.
From who?
From in the Carlton Award, in the medal at Carlton.
What, the best and fairest?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was Mill got Brownlow votes.
Check that one out.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying. I think Harry got 1 vote and he had 8 possessions. I had 44 and kicked 2 goals. You can say whatever you like.
Yeah.
But there's pretty substantial evidence there.
Hey, I'm on your side, mate.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I just reckon it was unfair.
Yeah.
But
Now, you were, from memory, you were very angry at the Brownlow medal count that year. Is that
no,
fair?
I don't reckon that's. No, look, I was disappointed that I didn't get a vote in that game. There's no doubt. But I didn't go around telling everyone I was pissed off or anything. I didn't.
How many weeks did you get for whacking David Rees-Jones?
Oh, I got 5 weeks.
5.
Plus suspended, 3 suspended.
That was crazy that night. I remember that was an SCG game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And tell me if I'm wrong here, correct me if I'm wrong, Rees whacked you and broke a bone or the back of your shoulder.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, pick up the story from there.
Well, I was wrestling, there was a bit of an all-in on the ground, and I was wrestling with Craig Bradley, actually. And we're on the ground, and actually I got kneed from behind, and it was Rees. And he actually broke my shoulder blade, which, it's not easy to break, but he did. He kneed me in the back on the ground from behind, and about a minute later, there was a ball up in the centre, and unlucky for Rees, he grabbed the ball, and in a ball up, and I belted him back.
Broke his jaw?
Yeah, I did.
So it's just eye for an eye?
But I just think it is.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sorry, but I did.
Was that your best shot, do you reckon?
I don't want to say it's my best shot. There's no point saying that, but it did break it. And
now, someone badly advised Rees after that, didn't they? Instead of going off with his jaw swinging in the breeze at the SCG.
No, I did it. The fact I went down the goal square, and actually he came down and followed me down there, which was a bad move again. It was a bad move. But
did you hit him again?
No, he came at me again in the goal square. He did, and I hit him in the jaw again. I did, and he went down again because he's in a lot of pain. Of course, he was in a lot of pain.
And oddly enough, you end up going to Carlton and playing with Rees. Did that relationship, was that ever healthy again?
Well, it wasn't good. No, it wasn't. Rees was really upset with it, and that's fair enough. But I think I had a reason to hit him back, and I did. But it's a bit better now. I just think I see Rees now and then, I talk to him, and it's okay,
I remember you going to Carlton, I think in 2009. I think I remember at the time thinking what a smart move it was to get you to come and do some coaching. Murphy was emerging, Juddy was there.
Yeah.
I think we can see some of your imprimatur on Murphy. What about Juddy? Was there any part of Juddy's game that needed any attention?
Yeah, I think, when I take young blokes that, even Juddy's a young bloke too, but he's a pretty senior player. But I take them for one-on-one. Ball handling is my domain, really. I really have a lot. I take it seriously, my ball handling and skills, and I just try and pass on to the players what I did. Now, I show them. I had a really good technique when I played. I hardly ever fumbled. I just had a really good technique where you could attack the ball as fast as you could, and it was a fantastic technique. It works for everybody. And I just try and show the players that, and sometimes I come across, like young Murphy or Juddy, or who've got slight problems with their technique, and I show them what I think they should do.
What would you say to Juddy when he put one down?
I just said he's not as good as ball hand as he thinks he is, that's all. No, I just think
Can you say that to a dual Brownlow
no,
medalist?
I think you can, and I think that's the good thing about him as well. He's a fantastic ball handler. And he's a superstar player as well. I'm not trying to, but I think the stars also need help. You know, I really believe that. And I've spoken to Juddy about a few things between him and me, and I think they're starting to come through. They really are.
Like?
No, just his focus. Like he's so. I don't know how to say it. Like he's so unselfish. Like, which I'm the opposite probably. I remember saying to him 3 years ago when he got to Carlton that he can do a lot of things that no other players can do. Which is to win another Brownlow and then maybe win another one and another one. And it's a lot to put on a bloke, and I probably shouldn't be saying it in public either. But he's the type of player that can. Well, he's won 2 already, and I think there's a serious chance that he could win 3. But if he says that doesn't mean anything to him, well, that's fine. But I think. And I try to explain to him that, he can set the standard again and be the best player of all time,
So I want to ask you about that, where he sits. I mean, you played with Kernahan and Bradley and Silvani and some great names at Carlton.
We have.
Where does Judd sit in that group?
Oh, he's right up there. There's no question. But I think as he continues on with his career, he's probably got 5 or 6 years to go, and who knows what he can end up with in regards to hopefully premierships and Brownlow's best and fairest. He's on track to be the best player of his time, no doubt. He's an amazing athlete. Like, you talk about speed, I don't think I've ever seen a bloke who can pick the ball up as fast as him and running as fast. And I don't know how he does it. He must just have so much. He just bends over and scoops it up like no one else.
Where's the diesel come from? Who christened your diesel?
Oh, that was at Geelong. Mick Turner actually did that. Mick was a really good captain, and I had a lot of respect for him as soon as I got there. He had team meetings in those days, well before his time, and he actually had a motivational tape as well, which was a gridiron tape. Was John Riggins. I'm not sure if you've heard of him.
No.
But he was a great running back in America at that time, and he still holds the world record for yardage, and his name was Diesel, and for some reason.
Okay.
That was where it came from. Everyone thought I was slow and reliable, like diesel engine or something, but it's not the case.
Now, we talked before about Brownlows. In your first Brownlow, there might have been an element of luck attached to that, Diesel.
There was.
Last game against Fitzroy,
Yep.
you smacked Scotty Clayton in the comic cuts, is that right?
I did.
Yeah?
Yep. Yeah, I was very concerned at that stage. I thought I would have got rubbed out. But
Scotty did the right thing, or what was
did.
perceived to be the right thing at
Scotty
the
was
time?
good to play on. He was, he was a tough competitor, and we played on each other a fair bit. But he did the right thing at the tribunal
And lied.
Probably did, yeah. But I always, when I played, I always hit my taggers in the chest here.
Yeah.
I'd always just belt them in the chest. Try and. Sorry, shouldn't hit them.
Bust their diaphragm.
I did it all the time, and it was a bit like that with Scotty, but I just went a bit low, got him in the guts.
And he fell in a heap.
He did.
He did have a very strong penchant to throw this little short left or right jab. I think he could do it with either hand, and he got me in the stomach, and I folded up like a card table from memory. And he did get reported, and we went to the tribunal. And in those days, I think we were less than honest. It was sort of taboo to put anyone in. So I think I helped him out there, and he ended up winning the Brownlow medal.
You went on after football and went into a printing business and did very well out of it. So well that you don't have to work from your mid-40s. Is the story true that you sat next to a woman on a plane and accommodated her with an autograph and chatted to her, and she then said to you, look, why don't you, you're a printer, why don't you put a tender in for this printing job?
Yeah, it's true.
That is true, is it?
Yeah, it wasn't on a plane, but it was a lady asked me to do a birthday card for her mother. And she was the purchasing officer at Kmart. I did the signature and everything. She said, well, why don't you come in on Monday and have a chat about the printing and that. So, yeah, no, it was a good story. I ended up with a Kmart account, and
that was worth millions, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And we did a good price though, Mick. There was no funny business around it.
Oh no, there wouldn't have been. Is there any one thing in your footy career that you'd like a second crack at?
the biggest disappointing thing for me was when I went to Carlton. I was injured. You know, when was it 92 or 91 pre-season? Like, I had a real bad knee then, my right knee, which is still, it's buggered now, but I was really in a pretty bad way at that stage when I just got back to Carlton. And if I had have stayed as fit as I could have then and trained as well as I'd had at Sydney and been able to train properly, I reckon I would have been a lot better even at Carlton.
So you had a 3-year contract at Carlton when you came?
4.
4 was it?
Yeah, 4 years, and it was for big money then. You know, it was.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I do, but I don't really want to say. But it was a lot.
$500,000?
Not quite.
Okay. Hey Diesel, I love talking footy with you. It's been great to see you. It's a fantastic career, and we've enjoyed reminiscing about it.
Thanks, Mike. No worries.
Thanks, Diesel.
Good on you.
This has been a Fox Sports production.